Assessment of land resources. Competition for land between the subsectors of farming systems may occur for areas that can be used either for buildings and constructions or farming. Questions about the possible alternative use of land can arise, for example, in highly intensive small farms near cities. Classification of land. The criteria that influence the evaluation and assessment of land resources can be divided into three categories: physical criteria, criteria of land use, and criteria of ownership and possession. Physical properties comprise two aspects. The first are properties that determine the potential productivity of land. The physical potential is the result of the interaction of several natural and technical factors. Classification criteria for the analysis of farming systems are derived from this result. The potential profitability is determined, on the one hand, by the suitability of land for the cultivation of specific crops and crop rotations, plus their potential yields. On the other hand, the applicability of technical processes and their site-specific costs are also relevant. The external evaluation of these criteria in aggregated key figures varies nationally. In Germany, the arable land and grassland index are estimated by the fiscal authorities and documented by the relevant state offices in land maps or planning maps. Internationally, figures on soil quality are available in the World Reference Base for Soil Fertility and on the websites of other organizations. Knowledge of the potentials of land resources is relevant for assessing the theoretical potential of local farming, but has only limited value for the analysis of farmers' decision-making behavior in farming systems. The second aspect is the geographical location of land resources relative to the farm and to relevant markets for production means and products. The geographical location determines the accessibility and possible use of agricultural machinery and the costs for transporting production means and products. The impact of distance on the opportunities and performance of farming systems depends less on physical distance than on economic distance. The economic distance corresponds to the sum of the costs incurred for transportation. The classification according to the use of land distinguishes between productive, indirectly productive, and unproductive areas. Productive land includes all cultivated and cultivable land, pasture and grassland, forests and managed water bodies. Indirectly productive land includes land under buildings and constructions, courtyards, roads, paths, and ditches. Wasteland, non-cultivable land, and unmanaged water bodies fall into the category of unproductive land. A further criterion for land use is the implementation or maintenance of land improvement measures. This includes, for example, the subdivision of the available area for drainage and deep tillage, stone removal, terracing, or desalination. The third category for classifying land is the classification according to ownership. Distinctions in countries with administrative land registries usually comprise private land with a title deed, leased land, and sometimes rights of use to communal land. In countries where governmental land registries are incomplete and individual land use is regulated by traditional law, locally specific forms of ownership and tenure may also apply. Measurement of land. Determining the size of areas is usually unproblematic in countries with administrative land registers. Registry offices use either units of the International System of Units, such as hectares, or units from other measurement systems with known conversion ratios to other scales. However, estimating land resources of a farming system may become difficult when no detailed administrative area registers are available, which is not uncommon in some regions, especially in developing countries. One option in such cases are own measurements of specific areas, possibly using aerial or satellite photographs. However, this approach may require a significant expenditure of time and cost. More practical, although significantly less accurate, are estimations of the size of cultivated areas based on seeding rates or plant numbers in relation to local comparative figures. This information can usually be obtained by interviewing local farmers. Monetary valuation of land. If the interdependencies of farming systems are ignored, the economic value of land is defined purely by profit-maximizing considerations. According to the first rule of this principle, the higher value between market value and income value is relevant. However, the dependencies within a farming system can lead to a different value. Two main considerations in this regard are the role of land in the sustainability of a farming system and the contribution of products from the area to the subsistence of the farming family. If sustainability of a farm hinges on the availability of a specific area, the land's value is defined by the total cost of changing the livelihoods of those dependent on the farming system. If the specific area is relevant for the household's supply of food and, if applicable, also fuels and building materials, the substitution costs for maintaining the household supply, including changes in supply security, must be taken into account. If both a substitution value and an intrinsic value exist, then, under the principle of profit maximization, the economically correct value is the lower of the two. However, the higher of the two is relevant for decision-making on land resources in a farming system.